You and I connected over the spirituality and we speak the same language and we've had a lot of the same experiences, but our own unique like perspective on that. On along a path, you have these stones and then a stone will light up and you step on that one and it's like, oh, and then you go over there. And yeah, you just keep moving and when you surrender to that and you kind of trust that you will be led in the right place, life gets so much. I don't know if easy is the word, but it becomes more peaceful. And because when obstacles pop up, you don't freak out, you don't push against it, you don't break against that rock. You just sort of like the water, you just kind of keep moving. And also, at least in my world, I find that I can make sense of things that other people would deem bad. I can make sense of them. Have you always had that?
I think it's probably become a lot more pronounced in my later life as I've sort of something always triggers your wake up, doesn't it? Like you get woken up,
Right.
and for me that would have been the beginning of the ending of my marriage. And then but you do look back on things. Like I look back on things, and I used to do especially when I was studying. I used to do this thing where I would just stare at the wall, like I was going to give myself just a break to stare at the wall. And now what I know I was doing, I was like meditating in a form before meditating was even a thing. And I didn't know why I was doing it. So I think you do have some like you still do some of these things. And I've always been pretty easygoing as well. So I think that's a little bit like going with the flow. So I think some of it's innate and then some of it you then learn the why along the way. And so I think since the beginning of my marriage breakdown, that's when all the whys and and then you look back and you go, oh, I have been doing that, but I didn't know why I did it. But you were basically just like you intuitively knew to do it, which was interesting.
Right, right. And I have found that a lot of times there are almost like programs that run in the background that I'm not aware of, and something will happen to bring them forward. Like, oh, that has a name. I didn't know it had a name. Yeah, that's exactly right. So how long ago did you guys split?
So the beginning of the end was 2014, middle of 2014. So we sort of had a 12-month period where I suppose I'm from the era where you don't like marriages don't break up, especially we had a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. Like you don't marriage you,
In the
like
weeds. Yeah.
yeah, you don't like people don't walk out when when you're in that. And it was actually my ex-husband that walked out because I wouldn't have, because in my like just our belief system was you just didn't do that. You just kept working through. It didn't matter if you were unhappy.
Silently.
Yeah, totally. Exactly. With all your other friends and moaned about them over. Yeah, exactly. But my ex-husband was going through a bit of an existential crisis as well because his father was dying. So he had this big life is meant to be, we're supposed to be happy. This is supposed to be. So I think if he hadn't been going, there was sort of like a whole mixed bag of events that aligned it that he left, because I think any one in particular wouldn't have probably been enough. But when you combine them all together, he was adamant. And I think it probably took him. I think he probably realized about 3 or 4 years after. So it took him about that long to realize, oh, oops, yeah, that was a mistake. So it took him that long to sort of, I suppose you'd say, snap out of it. But that was what there was. Weight is gone. It's done. Gone by then. And no,
Go, go, go.
I was just going to say, yeah, sorry, there's no turning back, I think.
Well, I think that it is. So I lost my dad this past year, and my mom's husband of 35 years. I'm 51, so it wasn't my biological father. I guess it could have been, but I mean, anyway. So that is enough. That is enough to kick you in the teeth. And you do look and say, am I happy? Is this how I want to spend my life? Because life is a currency. And how where do you want to put it? Like how do you want to spend it? But ultimately, happiness is on you, and wherever you go, there you are. And so it is, sort of that idea that I will be happy if I make X amount. I will be happy if no, either you're happy or you're not. It is not in the external, it's in the internal.